Hello ladies and gentlemen, Willie here. Well, this came a bit out of nowhere. During Blizzard's first official sanctioned TBC Arena tournament, we had a surprise interview between Holly Longdale and Venruki, during which Phase 2, dubbed the Overlords of Outland, was brought up. This will be patch 2.5.2. Key new points that will be brought in with this new phase will include pre-nerf Serpent Shrine Cavern and Tempest Keep, time to see if the TBC raids have any real teeth to them for our highly min-maxed player base. Tier 4 will be nerfed alongside it. This would have been correct as per patch 2.1 when this was done originally, which will be one phase ahead where we are, but I guess as the next raid tier is rolled out, the previous one will be nerfed. Nerf should include things like Dragon's Breath being removed from the Shade of Arang counter. The Skeletal Ushers and Karazhan should now be vulnerable to Shackle and Dead. There should be a reduced amount of clickers on Magtheridon and many more things. The original tier was nerfed harshly in its first tuning pass. It does seem a little bit unnecessary. If there's issues with the pre-nerf content at this point in time, then Tier 5 is going to prove a substantial challenge, but for the sake of alts and maybe those having a few issues on it, it could be a stepping stone up to the new content at a later date. Guild banks are also being tested and will be on the menu for this update, as will be a LFG tool, which will not be the version you know from Wrath the Lich King. It'll be much more similar to the one on retail, where you can search for other people to join with a party. For example, you put together a group for heroic slave pens, and then you'd say you have a tank and a healer in the party and you're looking for 3 DPS. The DPS will queue up and you'll get about 1,500 of them within about 14 seconds. And then you can pick from whichever warlocks have queued up. 2 new daily factions will open, being Ogrillar, where players who went through Warlords of Draenor can get PTSD from repeatedly hearing the word Apexis Crystal, and the Shatari Skyguard, where you can farm Sketis a hell of a lot to get a new flying mount and a pet. Cool. PvP changes are in, including more arena points. This appears to already have been pushed forwards from when the patch will hit to live as of next reset. Reduced cost on Season 1 arena gear and the Honor Blue sets. The Outland faction PvP gear has also been brought forwards to bridge the gap in PvP gearing. This was brought in alongside the Sunwell patch originally. This gives any class spec combo access to an easy PvP 5 set from all the basic TBC reputations, only requiring honored with each. These will be reputations from your Hellfire Peninsula rep, Cenarian Expedition, the Shatar, Keepers of Time, and Lower City. So if you've been playing TBC in practically any capacity, you should really have these at this point in time. So easy PvP gear here. Very nice. Finally, the end of Season 1 arena points will be converted into honor at a rate of 1 to 10. So lots of honor. And with a patch hitting the PTR on the 3rd of August, when is it actually going to release, do you think? Obviously, in Blizzard's world, the current climate is a whole lot of bad press, so they'll want to take eyes off that. Amazon's New World is releasing fully on August 31st, a square 4 weeks after the PTR, so yeah, it's going to be on August 31st, pretty much. It seems like a very likely candidate. If not then perhaps the week after. Having a month-long PTR is not unusual either. Naxxramas was just a little bit longer, for example, in Classic. I get a feeling that many players have ticked off the content for our first phase in the Burning Crusade and are already in raid log mode or getting very close to that point. Whilst honestly other phases don't substantially build on that other than adding new raids or arena seasons, it's very Blizzard-esque to put stuff out to distract or take away from competition, and they need to really do something quite quickly with the current climate. At least that's how it appears to me. So, how can you prepare? Well, you need to be attuned for the new raids. This is TBC you're playing after all. Of course there's an attunement involved. For Serpent Shrine Cavern, it's pretty simple. You go into Slave Pen Heroic, you talk with a guy in a cage, he says, "Hey bro, how you doing? Go kill Nightbane and Gruul." You go kill Nightbane and Gruul, you give them the 2 signets, job done, SSC completed. For Tempest Keep, there's a lot more personal responsibility involved, including the full Cipher of Damnation quest in Shadowmoon Valley. After you've completed that, you'll get a letter from Khadgar to then commence the Trials of the Naaru, which will include having to complete and do certain objectives within Heroic Steam Vaults, Shadow Labyrinth, Alcatraz, and Shattered Halls, each one of those needing a key from Revered to actually set foot within the dungeon. After you've done all that, you'll have to defeat Magtheridon. And you also get a cool little title once you've got both the attunements done. If you're still in that process of attuning, there's an add-on called Attune, good name for it, which will help you keep track of what's going on in this seemingly enormous spider web of a system, and it makes things really simple. For Warlock tanks and regular tanks inside Serpent Shrine Cavern, the resistance fights make their reappearance. You'll need one Warlock with a good amount of fire resistance gear for Leotheris the Blind, which could set you back up to 100 badges of justice, and for tanks on Hydros the Unstable, you're going to need one with a lot of frost resist and another with lots of nature. It may be possible to have a tank gear out 50-50 and be able to do it just fine, but perhaps not in our current gearing. Before you go investing super hard in anything, I would wait till the PTR actually hits and check back with your class Discord as for recommendations of what they think will be necessary. But just keep it in mind, Warlocks you might need loads more badges, and for other tanks you might have to go back to blacksmithing to create yourself some good resistance gear. Finally, with more beefed up and substantial raids in general, even top guilds are going to be spending a while inside there, so you already know consumables are going to be on the up as demand starts to rise. Speaking of consumables, however, there is a particular item called Mark of the Illidari. There are vendors in-game which you may have noticed for both the Alders and the Scryers, and if you've achieved Exalted with the Cenarian Expedition, the Shatar, and your Shatrath rep, you'll be able to trade one Mark of the Illidari for a flask from these vendors, which are exactly the same as the one made through alchemy. Now, the thing about these marks is they were initially put into the game in patch 2.1, which is Black Temple, which is R-Phase free. However, they were added retrospectively to Serpent Shrine Cavern and Tempest Keep, and they drop fairly often. And with Blizzard's reference client being 2.43, when this hits PTR, they should drop, and that would be correct, at which point in time Blizzard have a decision as to, do we want these marks to be dropping this early on, or do we want to move them back to when they were put in the game originally and give people who have chosen to go into specializing in flasks a bit more time to benefit from that choice? I think the latter would be correct, but we'll see how they handle it. Either way, just be aware of that. Obviously, your throughput potions are going to get chugged like absolute no tomorrow in the new raid content, especially potions of destruction and haste. Keep an eye on Netherbloom, Nightmare Vine, and especially Terracone. Basically, get a potion master that's a guildie. Don't go paying full prices from the auction house. There's no reason to do it. And of course, with new raiding content, with a new arena season, everybody gets loads of new gear. What does gear need? Gems and enchants. Living rubies and large prismatic shards already practically seem to have no cap as to how high their prices will rise. The reputation items for your Shatrath reps could go up as well if Marks of the Illidari are in, or just so people can finally cap them out and get access to the exalted and best shoulder enchants from their respective factions. The quest chain for Druid's Epic Flight Form is already available on the PTR, so it looks like this is going to be available earlier than it was in the original game. Also being made available earlier than expected are the engineering goggles from any Master Engineer trainer. For PvPers, you're going to have much more easier access to resilience, which has been part of the issue why the same faction battlegrounds have even existed in the first place. So feels like we're getting two solutions at once, but it's better than nothing, as well as loads more honor for your arena point gear for the current season, as well as more arena points in general. So these changes seem like a big W for the PvP crowd. Same faction battlegrounds are also ongoing until reset and are still under review. I've no doubt they'll be put in the game. I guess Blizzard are just trying to get them correct and working as intended for how the game goes these days. That is about it though. Pretty simple additions to the game overall. New raids, new PvP seasons. This is kind of the format for how the additional content will look in TBC moving forwards. And as mentioned in an earlier video, I'm still going to be doing classic stuff, and I want to make sure that it's the good stuff, and I like doing these kind of videos and sort of going over what's going to be happening in the next patch. So hopefully it's useful for you too, and you enjoy this type of content as well. If there's anything big you think I missed out, please do drop it in the comments. Other than that, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one very soon.